This video is sponsored by Alcid E-Homes, whose mission it is to accelerate the advent of sustainable, healthy living systems around the world. Hi, welcome to Best in Tesla. Once upon a time, car dealers were servants to manufacturers in every single way. And during the Great Depression, Henry Ford forced all of the dealership to continue to buy his car to keep his production line going and his company safe while the economy plummeted. The dealers knew if they didn't buy the cars, they should never get another car from Ford and their business would die. This abuse of the dealership led to the dealership creating associations to protect themselves from manufacturers to abuse their power over the dealerships. And this is why in the US the dealership is protected by law, and why Tesla in some states are still not allowed to sell directly to customers. But someone like GM is trying to make a deal with their dealerships, but Volvo is bypassing them altogether, and Ford and many others have not done anything yet. But what can they do? Their size is not an advantage in this case. Let me tell you why, and let's dive right in. Well, maybe the old manufacturers hoped that the law protecting the dealership would stop Tesla from selling their electric cars in the US, because Tesla would have to invest a lot of money in showrooms themselves to sell their cars, and in many states they were not even allowed to do this. And the old guys had the dealerships they could just sell their electric cars through, so this should be very easy. But as we are seeing starting to play out, this is not the case. Tesla did not just force the entire car industry to go electric, but Tesla showed a whole new way of selling cars as well. The problem is that the dealerships hardly earn money on selling cars, and neither does the old automaker. They earn money on maintenance, service checks, loans and insurance. There is something called service absorption, and that is how much money the dealership earns on service. This is normally about 70% of their earnings, and only 30% is coming from sales. And dealerships that have been around for a very long time and have many cars out on the road that all need service can have 90% or even more service absorption. So the problem with EVs is that they don't need much service, which is the dealership's main business. So the dealerships are looking at maybe something like 70% drop in their earnings with the switch to EVs. No company on earth is willing to shrink their business by 70%, so of course they will fight against this. And GM is actually trying to do something about it with their Cadillac brand, because that is the brand that GM will make fully electric first in 2030, but still the Cadillac brand will make the switch the fastest. And GM wants to make sure that their dealerships are ready to sell electric Cadillacs. And we just learned that the Cadillac Lyriq sold out in just over 10 minutes. Well, we don't know how many were up for grabs, so that doesn't really tell us much. But GM probably just did the same thing that they did with the Hummer EV, making only about 10,000 available for the first edition, so they could call sold out. But no matter what, they still need to sell these EVs through their dealers. So the Cadillac dealerships were given a choice by GM. Either get ready for dealership upgrades to sell only electric vehicles, or accept a buyout of $500,000 to $1 million to give up their franchise. So the dealerships had to spend about $200,000 to upgrade their dealership with chargers, the equipment to fix EVs, and educate its staff to actually know how to fix them, and so on and so on. Or they could give up the franchise and get $500,000 to $1 million. So many of the dealers that are probably small in size, where Cadillac may not be such a big part of their overall business, choose not to spend the money on the upgrade, and about 150 of the Cadillac's 880 dealerships, about 17%, went for the buyout option. So these dealerships are probably not in it for the long run, but just want to stay alive as long as there are ICE cars around that need service. But 83% of the Cadillac's dealers are getting ready for electric cars, so that is at least a good thing, and GM is trying to do something to make the switch to EVs work with their dealerships. But I think we will see a lot more of these kind of deals from legacy automakers with their dealers. Or maybe more will follow Volvo's way. They are only going to sell ICE cars through their dealerships and sell their electric cars only online, just like Tesla. And Volvo expects to be a 100% electric by 2030. So the dealer's relationship with Volvo is going to disappear within the next 9 years as Volvo becomes a 100% EV maker. So in 2030, Volvo will only sell cars directly to customers, and the dealership will slowly disappear as the ICE cars die. They will only stay alive as long as there are ICE vehicles that need maintenance. So Volvo is not trying to make this thing work with the dealership like GM is doing. They are cutting them out completely. But Volvo is also a very small company. They only sell about 700,000 cars per year. So it is easier for them to do this because they don't have to open so many showrooms over the next 9 years as someone like GM would have to do. Or someone like Volkswagen that have dealerships in over 153 countries and have close to 8,000 dealerships around the world. So it would be an almost impossible task for Volkswagen to make the move Volvo is doing here and open thousands and thousands of showrooms around the world in a very short amount of time, because Volkswagen is pushing hard to grow their EV production as fast as possible so they can become the leader in the EV market. So they need all their dealers to help with selling all these EVs. But as Volkswagen has found out the hard way, the dealerships don't really want to sell their EVs because it doesn't make them any money. So Volkswagen will probably have to make some kind of deal with their dealership, as GM is trying to do. They are simply too big. They need help from their dealer network to get all these EVs out to customers. And this also applies to someone like Ford. So far, they have done nothing to make sure their dealers want to sell their EVs. This is a big problem because so far, Ford is making some great electric cars. The Mark E is a great electric car, but you have to go through hell to get it. And hell being the dealerships. And we have seen stories about customers paying $10,000 over the sticker price, and also seeing problems with employees at the Ford dealership that don't know how to fix the cars if something goes wrong. This is what GM is trying to fix with the Cadillac dealership, making sure people are educated to fix the EVs and have the equipment to do so. But of course, the dealers have to pay for that themselves. So maybe this is also why we see Tesla's EV models is outselling everyone else, even in Europe, because people don't want the hassle of the dealerships, don't know what the end price will actually be, not even for their EVs, because they still have like 7 different versions of the car and 10 pages of add-ons, so you still don't know what the price will end up being, and many still have the mandatory 10,000 mile service checks even for their EVs. People are just getting tired of dealerships because Tesla has shown just how hassle-free it can be to buy a car. The price you see online on Tesla.com in 10 seconds is the price you will pay. And you don't have to do any service check, and you will still have your 4 years warranty. There is no doubt that the future is EVs. Even Ford is now producing more Mustang Mach-E's than its ICE version of the Mustang, but the ICE Mustang still outsells the Mach-E by 3-1 in the US. So Ford really has to do something about their dealerships if they want to become a big player in the EV market. It is not enough to make a great EV, because the Mach-E is a great electric car, but that is still Ford's only EV on the market today. So compared to Tesla, Ford is still a very little tiny fish in the EV market. Globally, Ford sold about 13,000 EVs in the first half of 2021, and Tesla sold 386,000 EVs. So Ford sells less EVs in 6 months than Tesla sells in a week. Ford sells less EV in a month than Tesla sells in a day. But Lars, Ford sells millions of ICE cars. Yes, and that is a big problem, not an asset. That business is going away. That does not matter. Just like Nokia's millions of cell phones didn't matter, because that business was also going away, and only smartphones with great software would be sold in the future. So Ford, GM and other automakers' ICE sales does not matter because it's going away. EV production and sales are the only thing that matters. And do you remember when the Mach-E was called a Tesla killer? Yes, they didn't kill anything. And one of the big reasons is dealerships are preventing Ford from competing with someone like Tesla. And this will probably be more obvious when Ford actually produce EVs at scale, because Ford in the EV market is still very small. If they get to their target of 50,000 EVs here in 2021, I would call that a success for Ford. But that is still less than the small EV startups like NIO and XPeng is selling in 6 months. So we're also seeing what the short sellers were saying was wrong. The legacy automakers could not just come in and scale up production of EV and steal all of Tesla's market. Ford in 2021 is going to sell something like 5% of the amount of EVs that Tesla is selling. And with the ramp up Ford has told us they would do with the F-150 Lightning, like 15,000 in 2022, 55,000 in 2023, and 80,000 in 2024. And that is even doubling their target after they saw the great demand for their EV pickup. Yes, what did you expect? But anyway, the F-150 is Ford's best-selling car, so I don't expect them to ramp up the Mach-E much faster than that. So we can probably not expect much more than 80,000 Mach-E's produced in 2022, its second full year of production. And Ford will only add the F-150 Lightning to the EV lineup in 2022, so that will leave us with 95,000 EVs in 2022. That will still be just about 5% of what I expect Tesla to produce in 2022. This is hardly competition for Tesla, let alone a Tesla killer. And production is one thing, but selling EVs through dealerships that don't want to sell them is an entirely different game, especially when they are still forcing their customers to go through the same loops like before, where the customers don't know what the end price will be before they have been through hell at the dealerships. This will definitely hold Ford back and give Tesla a big advantage, because the demand is going to be there for EVs, but Ford will firstly not have the supply. Secondly, if you are trying to decide between a Tesla Model Y and a Ford Mach-E. But with the Tesla, you just jump on your phone and order it in less time than it takes you to finish your coffee. But with the Ford, you have to take time off work to go to the dealership and bargain for the price and try not to get screwed to pay $10,000 more than the sticker price after hours at the dealerships. Yes, I know what I would choose on this simple fact alone, because I'm not even getting more range or a faster car or faster charging or better charging network or more trunk space. I will get nothing extra from all my hassle and extra time spent at the Ford dealership. Nothing. This is a big problem. I think GM is trying to find a way out of this predicament, as we see with the Cadillac brand. But at the end of the day, when all cars are EVs, the dealership will turn into showrooms and of course do some small maintenance and fixes that still needs to be done. But they will become a shadow of their former self. So I do think Volvo is doing the right thing here, bypassing the whole dealership model and letting it sink together with the ICE car industry. But is that even possible for the big boys like Ford, GM, Stellantis, Volkswagen, Toyota, or are they simply too big to use the Volvo model? Is this simply too big of a task in too short of a time frame for legacy automaker to even survive this? And will the dealership model be a big part of why the big old OEMs didn't survive the switch to EVs? Well, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.